Hi, welcome to Vicky Makes and Builds. I'm back with another puzzle for you, and I'm doing a smaller one this time. I like to do smaller ones in between doing large ones. And I've just finished my 6K Educa puzzle, so if you haven't seen that, check that out. It's a really lovely puzzle. Anyway, I'm back with you today for a completely different puzzle that isn't a giant puzzle, but is related to one. I am going to do for you today, I'm really excited about this, I'm going to do for you today the Disney Orchestra puzzle by Clementoni, again, but the smaller version. So this is a 1,000 piece version of the 13,200 piece Disney Orchestra puzzle. So I'm essentially doing the 13,000 piece puzzle's little sibling. And I thought it would be fun to build it, see what it's like building a much smaller version of it and how it kind of differs. And also once it's built, I thought it would be fun to put the big one back together and put this one beside it and look at some size comparisons and things like that. The big one's actually taped in sections, so I can easily just pull that out of its box and put it all back together again. And I'll take some photos and have a look at the two of them next to each other. So it's a fun little one for you today. This was actually meant as a bonus video last year when I actually finished the big puzzle. I was meant to bring out 2 bonus videos and I only brought out one. I did the full time lapse. This one, for some reason, hasn't appeared until this year, so I'm sorry about that. But I have got round to it eventually, and I am going to open it up for you and have a wee look at it and build it for you just now. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, time to get this opened up. I'm gonna just pull the cellophane off the box. So this looks a lot like the box for the Witcher puzzle, which is also Clementoni and also a panorama. It's sort of like thick cardboard with that woven finish, a little like the pieces themselves. We'll have a look at the pieces in here, but I suspect they'll be of the same kind of look and quality. Just taking off the lid just now. There's nothing really kind of special to say about the info on the box. It's got the brand name, the piece count. It's got the picture, obviously. It says Disney in the corner. And it says high quality collection panorama. So it's part of that panorama collection. And it's pretty much the same all around, except this side, it does give you the size of the puzzle, 98 centimeters by 33, and that in inches, that is 38.5 inches by 13. So yeah, so all the standard info on the box. There's, as is normal with Clementoni's, there's a little leaflet, there's a little advert there. So I wanted to have a brief look at this flyer because it tells you on the flyer how many pieces are actually in the box for the various different puzzle sizes with Clementoni. So in a normal 1,000 piece puzzle, there are actually 1,008 pieces, but in the panorama, interestingly enough, there are 10 less pieces. There are 990, so it's just a few less. And the rest of the info is talking about if you've lost a piece and the after sales service and information like that. So that's handy. And now we will open the pieces up. Now, always find this with Clementoni's, they're always quite a few stuck together. It's probably the brand that I find that with the most, although I will reiterate this, Clementoni are my favourite brand. I really like Clementoni puzzles. They do tend to have pieces stuck together. So let's empty them out of the bag. And yep, no more left in there. And just give them a wee rummage. Lost one over the side there. It's a fairly deep box and it's wide, so I quite like that because it means you can spread them out quite nicely. And the pieces are, as I surmised, they have that same woven finish, which I really like about Clementoni pieces. So there's a bit of a texture to them. They feel nice. It's the blue cardboard backing. They're nice and thick, chunky pieces, as is usual with Clementinis, and they have all the standard shapes represented. That's really all I've got to say about this puzzle. I think I'm just going to get started with it. I think I will sort this puzzle, and I'll do the format slightly differently this time, and I'll sort them. I'll sort of explain how I'm sorting it as I'm sorting. Just makes it a little bit quicker, means I'm not talking for quite as much of the build. So we'll give that a try and see if that works out well, and you can let me know what you think of that particular format of my videos, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope you enjoy. Right, I quickly realised with the sorting on this that I had a distinct advantage. Having done the puzzle before, even though it was the larger version of it, I am really familiar with the image on it. So every piece I was pulling out, I just recognised where in the puzzle that it went. So I very much sorted by area on this one. So here are the piles. This one is the edge pieces and the four corners. Then we've got the instruments in the orchestra. Then we've got the orchestra characters. That's the podium that Mickey is standing on. Then we've got all the audience members. That's the pieces that make up the blue suits on the orchestra members. Then we've got the pink dresses that Clarabelle, Daisy and Minnie are wearing. Then these are the stage floor pieces and the front of the stalls, and lastly the red curtains. Right, I've done the edge as far as I can. There's quite a few dark pieces in this edge, which I also recall being the case in the giant one as well. The edge is slightly different on this one to what it is on the giant one. So for example, at the bottom, there's less of the stage. You can't see the stage lights on this one. You can actually see the feet of some of the smaller characters. You can see the bottom of the drum over there, and that's much further up on the large one. So there are some differences, but there are still a lot of dark pieces in those corners where the curtains are, and in this bottom corner, and all along the bottom where the stage is. And I think I may have a few pieces in wrong because I can't seem to kind of get it finished and together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave the edge there and put together some of the other piles of pieces and hope that the edge kind of comes together as I'm building it. I seem to recall that happened with The Witcher as well. I had some pieces in the wrong place. I think because it's this panorama shape, sometimes it kind of throws me off. And I always kind of think it looks too long and then wonder if it's too long or if it's the right length or whatever. I'm not sure. But I think what's throwing me as well is just the amount of dark pieces, and I think I might have a couple in the wrong place. But anyway, I'm going to continue on now with these this tiny little pile of pieces here, which is the musical notes podium that Mickey is standing on. And you can actually see that at the bottom there, just a tiny little bit of it. And I'm going to do the pink pieces as well. And I have pulled out the curtain pieces, which, in complete opposition to the giant puzzle, I'm going to start with these instead of finishing with them. I'm going to stop talking at that. I'm just going to kind of leave the edge there. I hope that comes together and start on some of the inside of the puzzle and some of these smaller piles of pieces. Right, so I've got some of the ladies in the pink dresses roughly in place now. Clarabelle, she's attached to the side now. And I think next... Oh, hello, Grace. Okay, you just... What is this? Photo bombing? Video bombing? Cat bombing? I don't know. Either way, it's not ideal, is it? Okay, stop. No, no. As I was saying, before the cat rudely started eating my jigsaw pieces, I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start tackling the pile of musical instrument pieces, which are in this box here. It's that pile to the left, a whole bunch of musical instrument pieces there. I got a bit confused there for a minute because there's some pieces here. That's the characters on the stage pile, but there are some musical instrument pieces in there also because some people have their instruments quite close to their faces or hands, and so you can see instrument as well as character. So I will probably tackle the musical instrument pile first and then move on to characters on the stage, just because I've already got a little bit of the harp there, a little bit of Minnie's flute, a little bit of a violin, got a tiny bit of violin that one of the small ducks is holding, got a little bit of piano. So we're going to go from there, tackling the musical instruments. Right, so a short and sweet update here for you. I've pretty much filled out all of the stage characters and the instruments, got rid of most of those pieces, if not all of them actually. And now the only kind of parts of the stage characters that aren't done are the ones who are in the blue suit. So Scrooge McDuck doesn't really have a body. This goose doesn't really have a body. Mickey's just a floating head at the moment. Pete is missing some of his suit, and the two characters here, and Goofy there. So my next job is to do the stage pieces, of which there's not that many. I've been able to kind of spread all those out, and they'll go just kind of along here, possibly some little bits of the floor as well. And then I'll tackle these dark blue pieces of the characters' suits and shoes. And then I think that will pretty much be the sort of the bottom half of the puzzle where the orchestra are. That'll pretty much be that done, and then I can just work on the audience. Right, so that's all my orchestra characters pieces gone in, or at least all the pieces from that pile. There's a few gaps which I think must be mixed in with the audience pile, which is up there. I've got a few dark pieces here that are what remains of the stage pieces, but I think these are actually dark areas of kind of the background curtain around the edges here, which I've just got mixed up thinking they were floor pieces. And I seem to recall that happening actually in the giant puzzle. Very similar sort of brownie looking pieces with kind of lines on them, like these floorboard areas. So it's easy to kind of get those mixed up. So I'm just going to leave those in a row there until I've got some more of the audience in and I can just slot those in. And hopefully, if I have a shuffle through the pieces, I'll be able to fill out a few of these gaps as well. But yeah, pretty much done the bottom half of the puzzle now. And all these characters are looking more or less complete. A little bit of Pete's head and Goofy's head still to do, but I think that's because their kind of instruments and their heads sort of overlap the audience area. Same with this chap here. So they're not quite there, but they're almost there. So right, just pushing on with the last pile now, and that should be it, all being well. Right, that's the little puzzle done. I've come to a different location for the outro to this video. Now, this is, in fact, the room that I'm sitting in is the lounge of my new flat that I'm going to be moving into. I'm still between both flats at the moment, but I'm hoping to move into here next week. There's still decoration and stuff going on in here, but so it may sound just a little bit echoey, but I thought I would take the opportunity of having this nice empty room because there's not really much by way of furniture in here. I thought, okay, I can make use of the floor space. So that's why I've come here today. So the lighting might be a little bit off, the window's behind me, but I'm hopeful that the light coming in through it will highlight these two puzzles beside me. So, in case you hadn't guessed already, this is the ginormous 13,200 piece puzzle that I did last year. Right at the beginning of my channel, I did this. I did it over around about 4 parts, I think. I can't even remember how many parts I did, but anyway, I did this puzzle last year. There are a few different parts to, a few different video parts to the series. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out because it's really, really good. And this actually remains my favourite puzzle to date. It's so, so good. And this puzzle here is the small 1,000 piece version of the same puzzle. And I thought it would be a fun thing to put the two beside each other and just look at the size difference and some of the other differences that there are between the two puzzles, aside from the obvious being the size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the big one together just now, and then I will put the little tiny one together, and we'll take it from there. Right, let's get to comparing. Now, the first thing I'm going to start with is the size, because it's the most obvious one. In the smaller puzzle, the dimensions are 99 centimetres wide and 33 centimetres tall. Now, I will put this up on the screen in inches as well for you. The large puzzle is 292 centimetres wide, so almost 3 metres, and it is about 135 centimetres high. So, having worked it all out, this puzzle could fit onto this puzzle 12 times or thereabouts. So, yeah, it's quite a big difference. The other most obvious differences are in the image itself, so I'm going to cover that next. Now, the ones I noticed in particular, and I didn't actually realise this was the case, there are differences on the stage with all the characters on the stage. So I knew that the bottom had been sort of shaved off on this smaller puzzle, so there are no stage lights that you can see, as you can on the larger puzzle. There's also no musical sheets, but it isn't just the musical sheets at the bottom. There are no musical sheets in this section near Clarabelle's feet, or this section near Minnie Mouse's head on the other puzzle. So if you look at Minnie Mouse's head, no music sheets, and none near Clarabelle's feet either. So they have disappeared entirely from the image. And a couple of other things that have disappeared are some of the little critters on the stage. So you've got all the ones playing instruments. You've got Scrooge, you've got Daisy, you've got the goose, you've got Huey, Dewey and Louie, the three ducks, you've got Minnie, you've got Donald, you've got Horace Horsecollar, you've got Mickey. Of course, be a bit daft if they miss Mickey out. You've got Pete, you've got the two little ones at the front. You've got Goofy, you've got Pluto, and you've got Clarabelle. They are all there in both puzzles. The ones that aren't there are this little green chap here behind Mickey. He's not there, which is a shame. I quite like him. I must admit, I was looking out for green pieces when I was doing the stage and I couldn't find them, and that is because he's not there. And there is also a little squirrel here at the bottom next to the podium, and that is on both puzzles, but the one that isn't is the grey squirrel, just next to Mickey's foot and beside Donald. He's disappeared too. There's just a wee bit of stage there. So, oh no, there's another one. That chappy there, next to Minnie. He's not there either. There isn't really space for him there because of the coat of the goose playing the French horn. So the musical sheets and 1, 2, 3 of the little critters are not on the smaller puzzle picture at all. So they've obviously taken those out to fit everything in so it doesn't look too cluttered. There are 1 or 2 differences in the audience as well. Now, for the most part, that is because if you look at the audience on the big puzzle, there is quite a big, there's like miniature curtains draped across, and then there's quite a big sort of bunch of sort of square arches above their heads. So there's a fair bit of stage there, kind of stalls, before you get to the main curtain. In this puzzle, the top of those stalls is gone completely, and you've just got some drapes of the curtains just at the top. So a lot of the top of the audience is quite overshadowed. And even though some of the characters are in fact in there, like for example, the Wicked Queen, I think that's Dr. Facilier, and Hook, they're quite overshadowed. And in some cases they're not there at all. So particularly in these corners where the curtain drapes across the corner, here all you've got from the Jungle Book characters is Mowgli and Baloo and King Louie and Bagheera. And you've also got Kaa the Snake. Up here, because there's more space, in addition to those characters, you also have the little elephant and you have the little wolf guy as well, just at the very top. So there's some missing characters over there. I think all of the villains are present and correct, and pretty sure all of the next lot of characters are there. Definitely all of the princes and princesses are there. Now then, I'll go from this side because I know there's a few missing from Robin Hood. So we've got, oh dear, that piece has come out. There we go. So we've got Robin, and we've got Friar Tuck, and we've got Little John in the small puzzle. And in the big puzzle, they are joined by Maid Marian and her lady-in-waiting just at the top. In the Winnie the Pooh characters, we don't have Owl in the small puzzle. We do just about see Kanga, although she's quite heavily overshadowed, but Owl I think is missing entirely. Let's go and have a look. Yeah, so you can just see Kanga there, and Owl is just not there. And here, there are no baby Dalmatians in this section, no puppies. And there's only the 2 adult Dalmatians in that bit. So I'm just going to go over to, I'm going to have to crawl across the puzzle here. So you see how you've got all the pups there. They've only taken out, in fairness, they've only taken out a few. There aren't many that they've taken out, but obviously they've had to take a few out because they'd either be so dark you wouldn't be able to notice them, or it would just look too kind of cluttered, and it wouldn't really work. So there are differences also in the image. The other stark difference in the image, and it's a pretty stark difference when you're puzzling it as well, is the curtain. The distinct lack of curtain. Now, in terms of the ones at the side, as far as proportion goes, they're about the same. But at the top, there are sort of miniature drapes on the big one, just above the audience's head. And then there are larger drapes with quite a bit of red above that. So along the top, you have got a lot less curtain. And obviously at the sides, the curtains are proportionately a lot smaller. So they were a lot easier to build. They weren't quite the stressful solid colour madness that they were when I built the giant puzzles. That was a relief, I have to say. And the same with the stage. The stage had some quite heavy blocks of colour, some bits that were quite dark, like in these corners. And, that made that quite difficult to build, but not really the case with the small puzzle. What I'll do is I'll go through some of the differences with regards to building it just now, but I'll do it in front of the main camera so I can actually talk to you. I think that's most of the kind of the visual differences that I can see. If you notice any that I've missed, please do let me know. I don't think I have, but if I have, then feel free to comment on that and let me know. But yeah, it's just so tiny. Right, okay, I will see you in a moment in front of the camera. Okay, so I can't very well get this giant puzzle out again without taking the opportunity to sit on it. It's lovely seeing it out again. I've had really good fun, like, looking at both the puzzles together. So as far as comparisons in the actual builds go, the interesting thing about it is that I even though I did this giant puzzle a year ago, around about a year ago, it took a good several hours of my life, over 100 hours, and as a result, it's pretty well ingrained itself in my memory. And I remembered so much about the puzzle as I was doing it. I was picking up pieces and I knew where they went, or roughly where they went, or what part of the puzzle they were from. Even though it was a lot smaller, I just recognised so much of it because I remember from doing it. So actually, doing the giant version of it helped a lot. And when it came to sorting the pieces and things like that, it was just a doddle because I just knew. There was no question. I just sort of knew where everything was, and it was easy to just sort into distinct categories. So that made it quite sort of quick and just really fun. The whole experience was quite nostalgic for me, I have to say, because I enjoyed this puzzle so much, and it gives me good memories of back at the start of my channel when I was just starting up, and I was, it was an exciting time really when I was starting it all up, and it still is. I love doing the channel. I've loved every moment of it. But this puzzle really does hold some quite special memories for me. So doing that small one and just thinking back on it has been a really fun thing to do. The small one just was made a lot easier by the fact that I've done it before, even though it was a huge version of it. One thing that did throw me a couple of times was that that's just one puzzle. This is sections. I mean, I built this in sections. So there was very much, when I came to do the audience, I noticed this particularly. I would see faces of people in the audience and I'd be thinking, right, so for example, the Sultan, who's just here, and the three fairies, I kept thinking, I know where they are, they're on the right-hand side. And then it completely threw me because they turned out to be more on the left of the puzzle. And I thought, oh right, I don't have that memory. And then I realised why. It's because when I did section A, which is this top left corner here, these characters were on the right-hand side of that particular section. So I've got this kind of memory of them being on the right of the puzzle, but they weren't on the right of the entire puzzle. They were just on the right of section A. So when I came to do the audience, I was thinking, I kind of organised the pieces along the top as to where I sort of thought they were from memory. And that section in particular with Zeus and the Sultan and the fairies and all the rest of them, I put them over to the right-hand side. And I was so confused when they turned out to be on the left. I was like, oh, I don't remember that being the case, but that's why. So, that threw me a bit, but not much. I mean, I figured it out, and it was fine. The princesses and princes I knew were in the middle, and I knew Jungle Book was on the left. And I remembered that the Robin Hood characters were on the right. So that was good. The curtains. I cannot do this video without mentioning the curtains. I obviously knew the curtains weren't going to be the nightmare that they were when I did this puzzle. And actually, because this was my very first humongous puzzle that I did, ever, not just for the channel, just ever, I went into it a little bit naively, thinking I would do as I normally do with smaller puzzles and just grab a bunch of pieces that obviously go together and start with that section. But you can't do that with a giant puzzle because some sections will be huger than others. And in the case of section A and also section C over in the top corner, the curtain takes up around about half the section. I started with the red pieces thinking this will be fine, and then just didn't really get anywhere fast. If you haven't seen that video, the very first video, go and have a look at that. I very quickly realised that I've approached it the wrong way quite early on in the puzzle. So I tried to start with the curtain, but very quickly changed my mind, and I moved over to the audience characters, which were a lot easier to do. In that, you're able to do the curtains first, and it's kind of obvious to do it first. So, you know, when you do an edge in the puzzle, that's traditionally what you maybe start with, and I did that in that case, and the curtains are also around the edge. There's very obvious yellow and red sections. There weren't too many of them, so putting them together first just made sense. And I kept smiling to myself and laughing, thinking, wow, how different it is doing these curtains in comparison to those ones. So that was quite funny, thinking about that. So yeah, it's been really, really good. The last comparison detail that I'll give you is the timings. So this puzzle took me 122 hours to build. That puzzle took me 3 hours and 45 minutes. So obviously that was bound to take me a lot less time than this one, but I don't think that's too bad. I didn't find the puzzle particularly difficult to build, but I think that's largely because I have done the larger version of it, which helped. I think, you know, it might be a slightly higher difficulty level for some. With it being a cartoon, I find that tends to make puzzles a bit easier, but there's a lot of small details in it, all those wee audience faces and things. It might make it slightly more difficult, but I found it to be okay, absolutely fine. And I don't really have any other comparisons apart from that. If there's anything I've missed, or that you just want to know and would like to ask, then please do leave a comment and I will endeavour to get back to you. But aside from that, I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to try and keep the videos as regular as I can. I will more than likely be moving into this flat properly next week. So I'll try my best to get another video out, but if I don't, I do apologise. But you can rest assured that next time you see me, I'll be here and I'll have my new puzzling area and my new shelf behind me, and it'll all look a bit more normal and less chaotic. But for now, I'm going to say to you, thank you so much for watching. Happy puzzling, everybody. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe as well if you liked what you saw. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!